Welcome, YouTubers, to another episode in my Grammar Hero series. In this video, I'm going to work out 10 hard practice test questions that should very closely mirror what you should expect to see in the mathematics knowledge, as well as the arithmetic reasoning subtest of both the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery, that is the ASVAB, as well as the pre-screening Internet Delivered Computer Adaptive Test, that is the PiCAT. Of course, in order to get the most from this video, you'll want to pause the video after I read each question, attempt to solve the question on your own, and then resume playing the video to check your solution. And as a quick reminder, you're not permitted to use a calculator or a reference sheet on the actual ASVAB or PiCAT. That said, if you want a free reference sheet to use while you study, you can get a copy of my reference sheet at asvabapp.com. That's my website. And of course, I'll put a link to my free reference sheet in the description of this video. Of course, I also want to point this out as well. Both the ASVAB and PiCAT are what's called computer adaptive test, meaning that if you do well in the beginning of the test, later on in the test, you'll see hard questions. And if you start seeing questions that are very similar to the ones in this video, that means you're probably doing extremely well on the test. Likewise, I want to point out that nothing in this video is beyond freshman level high school math. In fact, most of the math in this video is middle school math. For that reason, I don't recommend that you pay for tutoring. If you go to the playlist section of my YouTube channel, you'll see that I've covered every single topic you need to know for this test, including by giving you a review of that topic, followed by anywhere from 30 to 100 free practice problems. Guys, if you work through those playlists, you'll be more than exceptionally well prepared for this test. On a related note, I also want to point this out. If someone's trying to charge you more than $500 for tutoring and they have a strong Indian accent, it's almost certainly a scam and you should not give them your money. So, with all that finally being said, let's go ahead and get started with these practice test questions. This arithmetic reasoning practice test question for the ASVAB and PiCAT says a structure in a 1 to 20 scale drawing has a height of 36 centimeters. If the ratio of the height of the structure to the width of the structure is 4 to 1, what is the width of the actual structure to the nearest tenth of a meter? So let's start by solving this one with our first proportion. We know the drawing has a scale of 1 to 20, so that's 1 to 20 equals, again, this 1 represents the scale, this 20 represents the actual size. We know the height of the uh, scale drawing is 36, and the actual size of the structure is unknown, so we'll call that x. All right, to solve proportions, you do so via cross multiplication. 1 times x is just x, and then we have 36 times 20. I'm going to do this off to the side to make this look nice and neat. Again, we have 36 times 20. 0 times 6 is 0. 0 times 3 is 0. Add a 0 placeholder before we get started. 2 times 6 is 12. Carry a 1. 3 times 2 is 6 plus 1 is 7. This is 720 plus nothing, so it's just 720. All right, so we know the actual height of the structure is 720 centimeters. Now we're going to use this second proportion or the second ratio to figure out its actual width. Again, we know the height and the width have a scale of 4 to 1. This 4 represents the height, which we know is 720. We don't know its actual width, so we'll call that x. Again, you solve proportions via cross multiplication. So we have 4 times x, or 4x equals 1 times 720, which is just 720. To solve for x, we're going to divide both sides by 4. This crosses out, leaving you with x equals. What is 720 divided by 4? Well, let's think about it this way. You could do the long division as I set up off to the side here. 72 divided by 4 is 18, and just tack on that 0. So this is 180 centimeters. We're not done with this problem because now we have to convert our centimeters to be in terms of meters, as you can see right here. Well, in this case, you have to know that we're going from a smaller unit to a bigger unit, that is centimeters to meters. So we're going to be dividing, and there are 100 centimeters in 1 meter. So we're going to divide this by 100, cross out these corresponding zeros. This says 18 divided by 10, which is going to be 1.8. So this one is A. The actual width of the structure is 1.8 meters. This arithmetic reasoning practice test question for the ASVAB and PiCAT says a boat takes 2 hours to travel 15 miles upriver against the current. If the rate of the boat is 12 miles per hour, what is the rate of the current? So you may have recognized that we have all the elements of the distance formula, that is distance equals rate times time. We have a time right here of 2 hours, a distance of 15 miles, and a rate of 12 miles per hour. That said, we have to make a modification to this formula to include this other variable called current, which I'm going to call C. And let's talk about how we're going to make that modification. Distance is not going to change. This current is going to affect the rate at which the boat travels. In fact, it's going to slow the rate of the boat down. So to represent that algebraically, we're going to do rate minus current because that current is slowing down the rate of the boat times time. So there's our new modified formula that we're going to be solving for C. Again, the distance was 15 miles according to the problem. Its rate was 12 miles per hour. We don't know how fast the current is, so we'll leave that as C. And it took 2 hours. All right, so there are a few ways as to how you can proceed. The easiest way to simply divide both sides of the equation by 2 here. This becomes uh, 12 minus C on this side. 15 divided by 2, you should be able to do that mentally. It's going to be 7.5. If you can't do that mentally, do it off to the side. 15 divided by 2. 2 goes into 15 7 times without going over. 2 times 7 is 14. 15 minus 14 is 1. We have to add a decimal now and a 0 placeholder. Drop that 0 down. 2 times 5 is 10, and we got to bring that decimal up into our answer. 2 times 5 is 10 with no remainder. So that's how we got 7.5. Now to solve for C, the next thing we're going to do is subtract 12 from both sides of the equation. This crosses out, leaving you with negative C on this side. What is 7.5 minus 12? Well, that's the same thing as 12 minus 7.5, but we know our answer is going to be negative. Let's add our decimal there. We can't do 0 minus 5, so we're going to borrow. This is going to become 1. This is going to become 10. 10 minus 5 is 5. Drop down our decimal. 1 minus 7 we can't do. We have to borrow. This becomes 0. This becomes 11. This is going to be 4. So this is negative 4.5 equals negative C. Again, the current is going to be a positive value. So to get rid of this negative in front of C, we're going to divide both sides of this equation by negative 1. In doing so, this crosses out, leaving you as positive C on this side. Again, a negative divided by a negative is a positive. These negatives cross out. 4.5 divided by 1 is just 4.5. So we can see that the rate or speed of the current is B, 4.5 miles per hour. This arithmetic reasoning practice test question for the ASVAB and PiCAT says two rectangular display cases have a base of 11 by 11 inches. However, one case is 13 inches and the other is 21 inches high. What is the difference in volume between the two cases? So we're trying to find the volume of rectangular display cases that have a square base. In other words, we're trying to find the volume of a rectangular prism. That's one formula that you do have to know for this test. And since we're going to be finding the volume twice, I'm going to write volume 1 and volume 2. In both cases, we're finding the volume of a rectangular prism, so that's going to be length times width times height for both of them. And for both of these, we know that they have a base of 11 by 11 inches. In other words, its length and width here is 11 times 11. Likewise, the length and width here is 11 times 11. That said, according to the problem, this one has a height of 13 inches, and this one has a height of 21 inches. Now we got to do some arithmetic to work this out. That said, you should know 11 times 11 is 121. So this is 121 times 13. Again, this is going to be 121 times 21. And so as not to make any mistakes, I'm going to work both of these off to the side. We have 121 times 13. 3 times 1 is 3. 2 times 3 is 6. 3 times 1 is 3. Before we start multiplication with this one, we have to bring in a 0 placeholder. 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 1 is 2. 1 times 1 is 1. Let's add this all up. 3, 7, 5, 1. So this one's volume is 1573. Let's find the volume here by doing this arithmetic off to the side. We have 121 times 21. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 1 is 1. Before we start multiplication with this 2, add in a 0 placeholder. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 1 is 2. Let's add this all up. This is 1, 4, 5, 2. So this volume is 25, 41. Of course, we want to find the difference in volume. So that means we're simply going to subtract their volumes. Specifically, we're going to do 2541 minus 1573. We can't do 1 minus 3, so we have to borrow. This is going to become 3. This will become 11. 11 minus 3 is 8. 3 minus 7 we can't do. We have to borrow. This becomes 4. This becomes 13. 13 minus 7 is 6. 4 minus 5 we can't do. We have to borrow. This becomes 1. This becomes 14. 14 minus 5 is 9. 1 minus 1 is nothing. So the difference in volume of these two rectangular display cases is a 968 cubic inches. This math knowledge practice test question for the ASVAB and PiCAT says simplify the expression log base 2 of 8 plus log base 7 of 49. So again, since you're not permitted to use a calculator or a reference sheet on the actual ASVAB or PiCAT, you want to get in the habit of copying things down accurately, like so. Now, in this case, we're going to use one of the laws of logarithms to simplify this expression very quickly and easily. Specifically, we're going to use the inverse logarithmic property, which says if you have log base a of a to the k power, that is simply equal to k. And let's see how we can rewrite one of these very quickly. Let's start with this one here. We have log base 2 of 8. Well, how can I rewrite 8? 8 is the same thing as 2 to the third power. So let me go ahead and replace this as log of 2 of 2 to the third power. And why is 2 to the third power equal to 8? Well, that's the same thing as 2 times 2 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2, of course, is 8. Now, what does this inverse logarithmic property say? Log base 2 of 2 to the third power is simply going to be 3. So this log base 2 of 8 is the same thing as log base 2 of 2 to the third power, which is the same thing as simply 3. All right, let's go ahead and simplify this second part. And I'm not going to do it up here now that I gave you an example of how to do it. I'm going to rewrite 49. And in this case, it's going to be log of 7. What is 49 the same thing as? Well, 49 is the same thing as 7 squared. So this is log of 7, log base 7 of 7 to the second power. And according to the inverse logarithmic property, we know that this is simply going to be 2. 3 plus 2 is 5. So this one is C5. This arithmetic reasoning practice test question for the ASVAB and PiCAT says two trucks leave a factory at the same time. One travels east at 65 miles per hour and the other travels west at 35 miles per hour. In how many hours will they be 200 miles apart? So we have two trucks leaving the same factory, which I'm going to represent with this dot here. One's heading east at 65 miles per hour, and the other is heading west, albeit at 35 miles per hour. And we want to know how long it is until they are 200 miles apart. So many of you are probably saying, well, I'm going to use the distance formula to solve this one. That is, distance is equal to rate times time. We know they're going to be a distance of 200 miles apart, so distance is 200. What is their rate? Well, in this case, they're traveling away from each other at a combined rate of 65 plus 35 miles per hour. If you can't do that mentally, do it off to the side. 5 plus 5 is 10. Bring down a 0, carry a 1. 6 plus 4 is 10. So they're traveling away from each other at a combined rate of 100 miles per hour. And to solve for t, all we have to do is divide both sides by 100. In doing so, this crosses out, leaving us with t over here. 200 divided by 100 is 2. In other words, it's going to take them 2 hours to be 200 miles apart. ASVAB PiCAT arithmetic reasoning practice test question for the ASVAB and PiCAT says tennis court is 78 feet long, divided into two halves by a net. For singles play, the court is 27 feet wide. For doubles play, an additional 4.5 feet are allowed to be used along each of the two longer sides. How much larger is the area of the doubles court than the singles court? So we're talking about a tennis court. both of those are going to be rectangles, so their areas are going to be length times width. And both courts, what's more, have a length of 78. So let's go ahead and write that in for both of these areas. What is the width of the singles court? Well, according to the problem, it's 27 feet. What is the width of the doubles court? Well, according to the problem, you get an extra 4.5 feet here and an extra 4.5 feet here. 4.5 and 4.5 is 9. 9 plus 27 gets you to 36 as your width for that. Now you have to do some tedious math. We're going to multiply these out, and then we're going to subtract a bigger area from the smaller area. And I'm going to do that right here so I don't make any mistakes here. 7 times 8 is 56, carry a 5. 7 times 7 is 49, plus 5 is 54. Add a 0 placeholder. 2 times 8 is 16, carry a 1. 7 times 2 is 14, plus 1 is 15. Let's add these up. This is going to be 6, 10, so bring down a 0, carry a 1, 10, 11, carry a 1, 1 plus 1 is 2. So the area of the smaller court is 2,106 square feet. Let's do this math over here. We have 78 times 36. 8 times 6 is going to be 48, carry a 4. 7 times 6, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46. Add a 0 placeholder. 8 times 3 is 24, carry a 2. 7 times 3 is 21, 22, 23. Let's add this up now. 8, again, this is 10, so carry a 1, 7, 8, and then 2. So the area of the doubles court is 2,808. To find the difference, we just subtract them, and I'm going to do 2,808 minus 2,106. Thankfully enough, this is the easiest part of the problem. 8 minus 6 is 2, 0 minus 0 is 0. 8 minus 1 is 7, 2 minus 2 is 0. So the difference is C, 702 square feet. Very tedious problem. This arithmetic reasoning practice test question for the ASVAB and PiCAT says, two brothers plan to mow lawns together. If one brother can mow 6 lawns in 1 hour and the other brother can mow 12 lawns in 1 hour and 30 minutes, how many lawns can they mow together in 2 hours? So the easiest way to think about this problem is if those brothers work at different homes, albeit at the same time. And if you think about it that way, all we have to do is calculate how many lawns one brother can mow in 2 hours and add that with the number of lawns the other brother can mow in 2 hours. So let's go ahead and take a look at this problem. Right here it says one brother can mow 6 lawns in 1 hour. So he can mow 6 lawns in 1 hour. Again, we want to know how many lawns they can mow together in 2 hours. So to figure out how many lawns he can mow in 2 hours, we're just going to multiply this by 2. 6 times 2 is 12. So he can mow 12 lawns in 1 times 2 is 2 hours. All right, so we figured out how many lawns this brother can mow in 2 hours. So let's talk about the other brother. Well, right here it says he can mow 12 lawns in an hour and 30 minutes. So he can do 12 lawns in 1 hour and 30 minutes. Well, 1 hour and 30 minutes is the same thing as 90 minutes. Again, in 1 hour, there are 60 minutes plus the 30 minutes, that's 90 minutes. And let's look at it this way. He can mow 12 lawns in 90 minutes. Well, let's break down 90 minutes to be in 30 minutes intervals. So he can mow 12 lawns, and 90 minutes is the same thing as 30 minutes plus 30 minutes plus 30 minutes. 30, 60, 90. In other words, if we divide 12 by 3, because we have three 30-minute intervals, we'll know how many lawns he can mow every 30 minutes. Again, 12 divided by 3 is 4. So that means this brother can mow 4 lawns in 30 minutes. Now let's upscale that to be in terms of 2 hours. 30 minutes, 60 minutes, 90 minutes, 2 hours. So we're going to multiply this by 4 to make it 2 hours. 4 times 4 is 16. So he can mow 16 lawns in, again, 30, 60, 90, 120. 120 minutes is the same thing as 2 hours. So he can mow 16 lawns in 2 hours. So now that we know that this brother can mow 16 lawns in 2 hours, and this brother can mow 12 lawns in 2 hours, to figure out how many lawns they can mow together in 2 hours, we're simply going to do 12 plus 16. So together they can mow C 28 lawns in 2 hours. This arithmetic reasoning practice test question for the ASVAB and PiCAT says a decorator removes equal sized corners from a rectangular piece of fabric to create a tablecloth as shown in the illustration. What is the area of the tablecloth? So we need to figure out what type of shape we have for our tablecloth. If it's a square, its two diagonals are going to be equal. That is, D1 is going to be equal to D2. If the diagonals are not equal, we have either a diamond or a rhombus. So let's quickly check the length of our diagonals. Here's one diagonal. You can see it's going to be 3 plus 3. And we have 3 here and 3 here. So diagonal 1 is 3 plus 3 or 6. Here's our second diagonal. You can see it's 4 plus 4. So diagonal 2 is 8. Our two diagonals are not equal to each other, so we're not working with the square in this case, which means we got to find a different way to solve it. And it's actually fairly easy to solve this one. I'm going to find the area of this big rectangle. Again, if this is 4, this is 4. If this is 3, this is 3. How do you find the area of rectangle? It's length times width. So we're going to use these dimensions to find the area of this big rectangle. Minus 4 times, what do we have in these corners? We have triangles. So if I find the area of one of these triangles and multiply it by 4 and subtract that, I'll know the area of the tablecloth. How do you find the area of a triangle? It's 1/2 times base times height. So area of a big rectangle, again, its length is 3 plus 3 or 6. Its width is 4 plus 4 or 8 minus 4 times 1/2 times base. What's the base of this right triangle right here? It's 3. What's its height? It's right here. It's 4. All right, this math is very simple to do. 6 times 8 is 48, minus 4 times 3 times 4 is 12. 1/2 of 12 is 6. So this is 48 minus 4 times 6 is 24. 48 minus 24, I'll do off to the side for you. 8 minus 4 is 4. 4 minus 2 is 2. So the area of this tablecloth is C 24 square feet. Again, this is not a square. We determined that by looking at its lengths of its diagonals. And to find the area of the tablecloth, we found the area of the big rectangle. And from that, we subtracted each of the 1, 2, 3, 4 triangles in each corner. So that is that one. This math knowledge practice test question for the ASVAB and PiCAT says the factors of 4x squared plus xy minus 5y squared are. So we're being asked to factor 4x squared plus xy minus 5y squared. And in order to factor this one, we're going to use what's called the AC method. Again, this is a quadratic expression, so we know 4 is A. This one that's not expressed in front of xy is going to be B, and this -5 is C. The AC method says take A, multiply it by C. 4 times -5 is going to be -20. Identify B. B is +1. We're looking for two numbers that multiply to -20 but add a +1. That's going to be +5, -4. Again, 5 times -4 is -20. 5 plus -4 is +1. What's more, it says take these two numbers and rewrite the middle term using both of those numbers such that you can then factor by grouping. So let's go ahead and do that. This becomes 4x squared. And I'm going to put the -4 first because I have a 4x squared here minus 4xy plus 5xy minus 5y squared. Now, when we factor by grouping, we focus on these two at a time. So I'm going to look at 4x squared minus 4xy. Then after that, I'm going to try to factor something out of 5xy minus 5y squared. So what can I factor from 4x squared minus 4xy? Well, of course, I can factor out of 4x. This leaves me with x minus y in parentheses. And what can I factor out from 5xy minus 5y squared? I can factor out a 5y. This leaves me with x minus y in parentheses. And here's our solution. It's going to be 4x plus 5y. I just combine those two things that I underlined times x minus y. I just brought down one of these x minus y's that repeated itself. And that is factored. Now I could rewrite it like this as well, x minus y times 4x plus 5y like so. And let's see which of these matches our answer choices. X minus y, these are x plus y. And then we have 4x plus 5y. So clearly this matches answer choice C. This arithmetic reasoning practice test question for the ASVAB and PiCAT says a room is 8 feet tall, 10 feet wide, and 12 feet long. If Bob is going to paint all 4 walls in the room and the ceiling, but not the floor, how many square feet will he paint? So we have to be able to find the surface area of a rectangular prism. Get on the ASVAB. You're not given a reference sheet, so you do have to commit this formula to memory. Again, rectangular prisms have 3 dimensions. They have lengths, widths, and heights. And its surface area is going to be 2 times length times width plus 2 times length times height plus 2 times width times height. As you can see, I just multiplied all 3 of these by each other down here. Now, in this case, we can't use the surface area formula of a rectangular prism because according to the problem, Bob is painting the ceiling, but not the floor. So we're going to have to make a modification to this formula. Again, here's the ceiling. It's length times width. Here's the floor. It's length times width. That 2 includes both the ceiling and floor. So we're just going to make this a 1 to just include the ceiling. So this becomes length times width plus 2, length times height plus 2, width times height. And now all we have to do is plug in our values and solve this one accordingly. Again, our height is 8, our width is 10, and our length is 12. So let's go ahead and plug and chug, as they say. Length and width, this is going to be 12 times 10 plus 2. Length and height is going to be 12 times 8 plus 2. Width and height is going to be 10 times 8. All right, 12 times 10 is 120. 12 times 8 is 96, so this is 2 times 96, plus 10 times 8 is 80, so this is 2 times 80. Let's keep working this out. This becomes 120 plus 2 times 96. I'm going to do off to the side so as not to make any simple mental math mistakes. We have 96 times 2. 6 times 2 is 12, carry a 1. 9 times 2 is 18 plus 1 is 19. So this is 120 plus 192 plus 2 times 80 is going to be 160. Again, you could do this part mentally if you want, but again, I don't want to make a simple math mistake. So this is going to be 120 plus 192 plus 160. Let's add this all up. 0 plus 2 plus 0 is 2. 9 plus 6 is 15, plus 2 is going to be 15, 16, 17, carry a 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. So he's going to paint 472 square feet in this case. So this one is going to be B, of course.